Hello and welcome to episode 75 of Lunch Therapy. Here we are, it's Monday morning, bright and early, the middle of the day, noon, and we're here for some lunch therapy. I've got a dancing giraffe, I've got an astronaut with a dolphin, so let's get this thing started. Okay, here we are. As usual, we're going to take in some breaths because it's Monday morning, and this is the show where we take a break from the mayhem that's going on in the outside world, stop, take a look at some things that may not even be relevant, or they may be completely relevant. Let's take in a deep breath and hold it. Let it out. Take in another deep breath. Hold it. Let it go. Yes, I believe that my graphic at the beginning of the show said it was Princess Bride Week. It is not. We are finished with Princess Bride Week, and we are moving on to our third breath. Hold it. Think of a hummingbird. Let it go. We've got some excitement this week. Last week, we interviewed Joe Fury on the show, but this week, we have someone even better. On Friday, we're interviewing, this is going to be our first Oscar winner that we're going to interview here on the show on Friday. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. I will. I'll tell you as we get, because I want you guys to maybe do your research. I have to do mine, right? Just see the movie if you want. See the movie Iron Giant, or The Incredibles, or Cars, or Brave. Yeah, somebody who's involved in all those things. But Jared Leto? I don't think so. I don't think he was in Cars. But maybe. You never know. He's everywhere, you know. He could be here right now. I don't know. Certainly could be. All right, so today is going to be a show where we complete the India cycle, or at least the first trip to India cycle. And it could be fun. It could be a complete mess. But let's get into it. First, we're going to take a look at some animals, because that's always good. And some of our viewers send in their animal pictures. Pam Palmieri, she's out there in Michigan, and she sent some pictures of some rabbits. Those are some fine, fine rabbits. I don't know. Is bunny a technical term as well? Bunny? Bunny rabbit? Why do they go together? Isn't it either bunny or rabbit? I think that's Bugs Bunny that coined that phrase, bunny rabbit. There's a bird. Points for knowing what kind of bird that is. I certainly don't. I'm not a bird. What do I look like, an ornithologist? No, we need Todd Haas for that. There's the same bird. Does anybody know what it is? Anybody? So cute, so close. I believe Kamala is talking about the bunny rabbit. And yeah, I wish we had bunny rabbits. In our yard, we have plenty of raccoons, plenty of cats, plenty of squirrels, perhaps a coyote or two, but I'm hoping not, just because they eat cats. And yeah, we have a lot, but we don't have this bird. I don't know what this bird is. We're trying to get some hummingbirds in our yard, of course. And then now we have Todd Lee. He sent me this beautiful, beautiful video of some birds. He says that they are some of his favorite birds. They're at the bird feeder. Last night there were several baby skunks in the alley. Yes, we have skunks as well. So there are those birds. Anybody know what kind of birds those are? It's hard to see, really. They're kind of far away. I think that Todd told me what they are, but I have no idea. And then this happens. The deer comes in, starts eating the bird food. That's the problem we're having. The squirrels, they go up in that bird feeder. We've had this tall bird feeder that was supposedly squirrel proof. Squirrels, they climb up there. Not only do they, I guess the person who made the squirrel proof bird feeder figured that the squirrels would try and get in there the same way the birds do, just through the little openings. And so they made it so they can't get in the openings. But squirrels don't care. They just rip the whole thing down. They just rip the whole thing down, busted it open, just start eating. That's what they do. Let's see what the skunks were very bossy, shoving the huge raccoon and the possum out of the food bowl. Yeah, it's critter crazy. We need a critter cam, I think. I think that's what we need. She's watching on her iPhone and she can't see the pictures. Oh, because they're so tiny. Yeah. Definitely, I will make them bigger next time. This is the portion of the show where I'm going to do some observational humor. I don't know, like Jerry Seinfeld. I don't understand cars. Cars are like, they don't seem to have evolved over a time period. I mean, recently they've started, introducing some technology, but they've had, new car technology forever, and they've always ignored it. And I don't know why. The thing is, we have the technology. I don't know why we don't use it. We've had it for years. It's, there are cars that do use it, but not enough. We got to move on. We got to just jump in there. And I'm talking, of course, about bumper car technology. Yeah, because the bumper cars, they have the big rubber bumper that goes all the way around the car. And I don't know why we don't put that on our regular cars. Don't you think it'd be a better world? Because, if you ran into somebody, it would just be hilarious, like it is in the bumper cars. Money and corruption. That's exactly what it is. They don't want us to have bumper cars. Do we have jetpacks? No, we don't have jetpacks, but they've been around forever. They've been around forever. So we got to start using the bumper car technology. The other good thing about bumper car technology is, somebody pisses you off, you just bump them. Just like in the bumper car thing. So you could just tap them. And if they have a big rubber bumper around their car, what difference is it going to make? They'll be like, whoa, yeah, I won't do that again. So I think that we ought to implement that. I think millions of people have died from auto accidents. It's about time. I think that we should also implement bubble wrap technology, because we can put stuff in, breakable things in these packages with the bubble wrap and send them all over the world. People throw them everywhere, and it doesn't break. So if we could, I know we have airbags, but why not just have airbags all the time? You get in and you get into all this bubble wrap, and there's like a little place where you can see out. And of course, jetpacks we should have as well. There are some awesome videos that we're going to show later on this week about new technology in transportation, because it's crazy. I don't know about you, Vape Escape. You should probably follow us on Twitch. I'd appreciate it. But this is Vape Escape again. He says, do we have jetpacks? We do have jetpacks. One time, I mean, decades and decades ago, I saw someone flying around in a garbage can. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this technology, but it's flying garbage can technology. And I think it was something to do with the military. I think the military has always had flying garbage can technology, and I think that we should have that too. Any other innovations for my observational humor section of the show? Please let me know. We're going to be talking about space later on this week because I know nothing about it. I don't know about you guys, but I just found out recently that we have an international space station that has been floating up there just above the atmosphere. Possibly aliens are there. I love the fact that Vape Escape is talking to us on Twitch. I love it when there's Twitch people, as you know. I thought the flying garbage can thing was you and Gordy. Now, that was dumpster diving, I think, which is a completely different thing. But flying garbage can technology is something perhaps they're using in space. I don't know, but I just found out that since 2000, we have had a manned space station just above the atmosphere called the International Space Station. I thought maybe every once in a while people went up there or something like that, but I guess there's been somebody in that space station the whole time for the last 20 years. They're up there doing experiments. There are people living. I don't know how they do it. It's hard enough for me to even get on a plane these days because I feel like, it's so confining. One time I got on a plane. I was going to the airport, going to New York City. Guy gave me some cookies. I was like, this is great. Friend gives me these big old M&M cookies, and I go through the TSA, and I get on the plane, and I ate one, and it was so darn good. I ate another one, and that was that moment I realized that these were filled with hash oil. And I got that feeling of like, oh my God, I have just lost all my faith in flying. We're in a tube, a big metal tube, flying through the air. The only thing that's keeping us up is air, and everybody knows that doesn't really hold anything. And I lost complete faith in flight, and I had this belief that everybody on the plane has to believe in flight for it to occur. Because if one person doesn't believe in it, thing drops like a rock. That's why we had a lot of missing airplanes and a lot of airline accidents during a particular period of time, because I think people on a global scale just kind of started to lose faith in the fact that we can fly. So I had this realization in the middle of this flight, and I thought that I was going to jump out of my skin, just completely like my bony was going to jump right out of me and dance around in the aisle because I was so scared. That feeling of just adrenaline, just like what happens when Boney jumps out? Is there a doctor on board to put the skeleton back in my body? And I was going to scream because that would be the normal thing to do. But I didn't. I held it all in for 7 hours. I held it in because I thought I was going to die. Can you have sex in space? This is a great question. One of the things that we are going to investigate on this show is like, how do these people live up there? What happens when they have a panic attack? What happens if somebody just went nuts and just was like, I can't do this anymore? You can't just, send them back home in the flying garbage can. What happens? Are these? They must have sex in space was one of the experiments, Vape. So I guess they did have it. We're going to find out. We're going to find out all about this because it's Space Week. But next, we're going to get back to India because we have to complete the cycle. Vape, I'm going to give you a little bit of, and whoever else out there that hasn't heard the rest of this thing, but this first time I went to India, I went with a new girlfriend of mine and her mother. We flew all the way over there. I didn't know if I was going to learn anything. Wasn't trying to learn anything. I didn't even necessarily want to go. I didn't know anything about India except maybe the fact that I had seen Passage to India or something like that. So we flew over there. I learned all kinds of things. We're finally at the point in the story where I'm in the south of India. And we're in a very small town where my mother-in-law, at the time my girlfriend's mother, This is a very good question. I'm not going to get off the track here, but did they do experimental sex? I'm sure it was a married couple. That's what I'm guessing. I guess we'll have to find that out too. As I say, I know nothing about this. So we're in the southern part of India in the small town that my girlfriend's mother's from. And it is tiny. It is a tiny town, and it is very rural. In fact, they built a toilet for us to come. Yeah, they actually built a toilet. It was very strange because it was in this very rustic house, and then there was a toilet there. I have no idea how they did it. They used to have all this marshland behind their house. There's all this water and waterfowl and all these things. But one of these soft drink companies came in for the United States and just decided that they'd reroute the water to their soft drink factory, and so it was very dry there, very dry, no water. That's the kind of people we are. That's the kind of people we are. We've got to get some more sugar water out there, so we take the water away. But still, this town was thriving, and there were, people there, and they thought that I was I don't know what they thought. They'd never seen anybody like me before. And I was sort of like stuck out like a sore thumb, and they decided that we were going to go down to the southern tip of India. And at the very southern tip of India's huge, and at the very southern tip, there's a place called Kanyakumari. And it's a place where everybody, they make pilgrimages down there. And it is a place also where, I've got a picture here somewhere, I don't know where it is, but I'm going to find it. I've got some multimedia here. At the very point, it's a sacred place. It's where there's a lot of oceans that meet, and it's at the tip of India, right here. I'm going to make this huge so that people on their phones can see this place, Kanyakumari, Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea. They meet down there, and so it's a very sacred place. And they have a giant statue, like in Brazil, but not that huge. But it's of a poet. This poet from the area, from Tamil Nadu, which is the state there, that's a poet. I don't know, do we have giant statues of poets? Shows you where their values are. And then there's also a rock memorial, which is a place you can go. It's a temple. And the reason they built this temple is because a guy had sat there on that rock where they built the temple and had meditated for 3 days or something and had become enlightened. And that, they built an entire temple, and everybody goes down there to check it out. And it is very sacred. It's a very sacred place. And it is very lucky and good for you to go in the water there. So everybody goes there and they all go in the water. One of the things about Indians that I found is that they're very modest. They're very modest, which is good for me because I am also very modest. And so what happens is they go in the water. They go in the water a lot, and bathe and things like that. But they wear their clothes when they do it. And they somehow wash around their clothes. It's very skillful. It's a very skillful thing. So there are all these people going in the water with all their clothes on. So, I did it. I went out there, tip of India, in the water, and I had a moment there of clarity, I'll tell you. I think that this was the moment when I realized that I needed to quit my job. Which is, one of those moments you have where you're like, I'm going to quit my job because I'm going to just walk the earth like a poet. Someday they'll make a giant statue of me and I will sit on a rock and they will build a temple. And that was the epiphany that I had. And then we got back in the car and we drove away, and the place has never been the same since I was there. I think this is my fault. But now in Kanyakumari, there is a Baywatch theme park. I think it's just because I was there and was, being all westernized, and they were like, next time, in case we have one of those guys come here, we've got to build a Baywatch theme park. Who knew? It does look fun, though. It does look fun. Gandhi's ashes are apparently in Kanyakumari. That's what I've heard. There's a lot of debate about where Gandhi's ashes are. Apparently, Gandhi's ashes are here in Los Angeles as well. There was a guy, his name was Yogananda. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, but he wrote this book, and it is called... Ganel also had that moment where I should quit my job. I think we all have that moment. But anyway, Yogananda, he wrote this book, and it is called Autobiography of a Yogi, and I recommend that you read it. And it is a bit challenging. It's a very thick book. But Steve Jobs read this book every year. He would read it. And it is trippy, man. It is a trippy book if you haven't read it. I highly recommend it. It is about this yogi's life, and some of it just seems impossible, inconceivable. But it's apparently true. He kept meeting all these different yogis in his life. This is me paraphrasing this book that I read once that is so intensely deep. But he keeps meeting all these different yogis, and there's one that wrestles tigers. There is one that has lived forever. There is one who doesn't eat food at all. And this Yogananda, he practiced a form of yoga, because there are many different forms of yoga, and we're not, the one we think of is the one with the postures and the stretching, but he performed this other yoga that is about giving. It is about philanthropy and giving and just being a vessel for giving to others. And he ran into, at some point, met Gandhi. And Gandhi, he told him about the yoga and about his, what he had learned, seeing all these different yogis. And Gandhi immediately was just like, cool, I'll do that. I'll be part of that. They just hit it off. So when Gandhi died, some of his ashes were sent to where Yogananda had a place, and that was here in the Pacific Palisades in Los Angeles. So some of Gandhi's ashes are there. I mean, Gandhi didn't send them there because he was dead. Somebody did, because they knew that this guy was important to Gandhi. But also, some of his ashes are apparently in the southern tip of India, in Kanyakumari. Another side note, because I love side notes. Years later, we were in Los Angeles, and we were at this guy's house, and he said, and my mother-in-law was there, and he said, I have Gandhi's glasses, his sandals, and his pocket watch. Would you like to see them? And we were like, well, yeah, okay. So he showed them to us, and he actually was like, here, do you want to hold them? And I was like, those are like, should be in a museum or something like that. But my mother-in-law held them. There they are, Gandhi's shoes. I'm not showing her whole face because she doesn't even like to be photographed. When you take a picture of her, in fact, in this picture, she is looking to the side because she's very modest, like I said. People from India are generally modest, I think. And then there's the pocket watch. That's pretty big for anybody on a phone can see it. That's Gandhi's pocket watch. And I was like kind of skeptical because this was just some guy living here in Los Angeles. But then later on, I found out that these articles were auctioned off. He auctioned them off for $1.8 million is what they brought. Yeah. $1.8 million. There's a lot of controversy about that because Gandhi was not a person with possessions. That was part of the thing, is he renounced his possessions and he walked around and all he had were these possessions, the ones that he needed, and then somebody sold them to an Indian CEO, I believe, for $1.8 million. And then I guess the guy tried to make up for it because I looked him up recently, and he's also apparently the guy that smashed Donald Trump's star on the Walk of Fame. Weird, huh? This has been a segue. So what we did is we left Kanyakumari. We went back to the small town. On the way there, we had some tea because that's what you do in India. We had some tea. My girlfriend and I then went back. Oh, well, when we had the tea, she sat down at this table and there was like some, I don't know, tea there or something that stained her pants. She had on white pants, so it's a little dirty. And then we stopped somewhere because we were smokers at the time. We needed to get some cigarettes because we were like American smokers, and we got these weird cigarettes. And then we went back home. And the next morning when we woke up, already the town had been talking about us. And not about me, because I was somehow very cleanly, and maybe because I jumped in the water. I don't know, but I was very clean. But there was a big controversy about Kamala's pants and how she had this smush on them and how she looked terrible and I looked great and she should never go out like that again. And that is small town life for you. That's the way it is in small towns, I guess. I think small town people out there, I don't know. Maybe Ganell, is he a small town person? That's where he said, I had the moment where I thought I should quit my job. Yeah, so that brings me back to that. We also went to church, which was they actually had a church there, Christmas Eve. They sang all the Christmas songs in Tamil. And I was sitting there, and at one point I moved, and the whole place went like that. And it turned out a lot of them didn't think I was human because I looked so different. They were like, they thought I was like a doll. Yeah. I mean, you got to, realize that a lot of them living there didn't have TVs or anything like that. They didn't know who George Clooney was. They did know who The Rock was, however. Some of them knew who The Rock was. That was one thing I said, is there anything because this cousin of ours, Samson, gave me a shirt, a really nice shirt. And I was like, well, is there anything you want from the United States? And he said, a shirt with The Rock on it. The world is a weird place, right? It's a weird place. So I did go home. I did quit my job. That was debatable whether that was a good idea or not. Quitting your job can be a lot tougher than you think. But I did go home. I did quit my job. And what did I learn? What did I learn? Because the question when I left was, what are you going to learn? Are you going to find yourself? And I did. I learned a lot. First thing I learned was I love sandwiches. Very hard time living without them. I would have a hard time living in India without some sandwiches because I don't know what it is. It's similar to when Liz left India. They said, you're not going to like the food because all they have is sandwiches, I guess. Other thing I learned was, who's watching the fire? I am. So whenever you're going like, who the heck is handling this thing? Who's going to do this? Why aren't they doing this? What the heck is going on? Just remember, you're watching the fire. I always remember that. The other thing I learned was life is perhaps not as important as I thought it was. It is possibly a cycle, and death is maybe not as scary. But I don't know if I believe any of that. It's tough. It's a tough one. You wake up in the middle of the night. I used to wake up in the middle of the night when I was a little kid and just be like, oh, someday I'm going to die. A fire can always use some more garbage in it. It's true. It's true. So these were some of the things I learned. I also learned, don't quit your job unless you have some other form of income, because it makes it even more difficult. I don't know whether that's true or not. You guys can debate me on that. We'll debate that, and we'll look at some space travel. And this week we're going to have a really fun time. And thank you for joining me. I've got some dance break. It is one of my favorite performers recently. He's blown up on YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel. His name is Justin Johnson. And I hope you join me in the dance break. This is the same guy that was playing a shovel. Last time I showed it. Yes, we are going to solve the space question. That's not him dancing. There's another guy. Happy Monday. Lunch therapy is over now.